next day. He pays his bill. He can send the truck another hour and a half to go connect him up. You get rid of that. You can receive pricing data, right? You can control utility equipment. You know, monitoring systems on the line. You can bring that data back. Like voltage. What's the voltage on the line? Prepaid billing, very popular. Just like buying a cell phone with minutes already on it. Same thing with these new kind of meters. And interfaced in-home displays. In-home displays. Information and tools to help the consumer make better energy consumption decisions. All right? So you know what your bill is. You get the one number. We're not giving you that 15-minute data, are we? You don't know what you're doing. But with these kind of dashboard kind of systems that they come out with, you can look at the energy consumption from the whole house. You can interface the meter with one of these dashboards. You can see your energy consumption in real time. You can do it by circuit. You know how you got a circuit breaker in your house? You can monitor each one of those circuits if you want to. Or you can actually do it by appliance. You put this little coupler right here over the cord. And whenever it has a read, it goes straight to the dashboard. And they got really fancy ones. They got computer ones and all sorts of things, all right? You can convert kilowatt hours to dollars. Now that's meaningful, isn't it? You don't really know what kilowatt hours are all about, but you sure know what dollars are, all right? And that could be linked in with an actual price signal in real time for that energy, right? You can see what the price is. Oh man, it's high right now. I'm going to go shut that air conditioner down. Monthly running, you can see what you've used for the month. If you're on that prepaid meter stuff, I've only paid $200. I'm at $180. I'm going to start cutting some stuff off, or I'm going to go to the utility and put some more money on the account, right? Historical data, I can see what I've done in the past. They've got web-based products. If you've got an internet connection on your computer, you can go see it. And it controls all kind of devices, too. You can turn lights on and off, program them to come up and down, thermostats, appliances, the whole deal. They're really sophisticated. It's not here in Kentucky. What do you think?
Cheap.
Yeah, that's one reason. What are we really missing? Well, we'll get to it. You think about that answer. Smart appliances. Not like that refrigerator. But they're programmable, right? Programmable dishwasher. Tell it a 4-hour delay. Right after you go to bed, it comes on at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, I argued at the Public Service Commission that the vast majority of my constituents can't even afford a dishwasher, let alone a programmable one.
Right.
But that's another story. Receive price signals. The refrigerator from General Electric, all those smart appliances, man, they can receive price signals and determine when they need to turn on or off. It's awesome. They self-diagnose themselves. They can have a built-in IP address on the internet and send out an email to the consumer or the manufacturer and say, hey, there's something wrong with me, or it's time for my scheduled maintenance. Right? This motor is running longer than it ought to. Something's wrong with my motor. And again, you got to have some sort of incentive, right? Why do you care about pushing electric consumption off to the off-peak hours if you're not getting a cheaper rate? You got to have an incentive. Plus, you pay more money for those appliances. All right, one of those DOE lab deals was the smart grid has got to accommodate distributed generation, right? So most often we think about renewable energies because they're the most challenging to integrate. And I really don't have time to get into that tonight, but I'd like to. This also includes energy storage systems, right? We'll get into that. Generation is at the load center. The PV system is on the guy's house. The wind turbine's in the back of the farm. It's right there where you guys use the energy. So there's got to be some positives to that, right? It's at distribution level voltages, not high voltage transmission, not 69,000 volts, but 12,000 volts, or 240 volts when you do it in your house, right? Reduced system losses. If I'm not sending current through my power lines, then I'm not incurring as many losses, right? I can defer or delay construction. Perhaps I can do that. I got a substation that's got so much capacity, has the ability to serve X number of houses, and the neighborhood's getting bigger, there's more and more houses, but they're starting to supply some of their own electricity, right? So maybe I can delay the upgrade of that substation for a little while. And then this microgrid concept, that's really common. And a lot of people have different concepts of that, but mine is like Detroit Edison. The city of Detroit Edison was serving. Back in the heyday when everything was going really good, not like today. But there was no way to get power lines built to the inner city, right? There's no way. They were turning in those abandoned warehouses, making condominiums out of them, and people were flocking to the downtown area like crazy, and they were using energy like gangbusters, but they couldn't build power lines to get in there. So what did they do? They bought a lot and put generators in the downtown city area, right? A microgrid, a grid within a grid. Distribution system. 90% of all of our electric distribution systems are radial. What does that mean? Power only flows in one direction. From the substation, you know what a substation is? Behind the chain link fence where all the wires are? In one direction to the house. Doesn't go the other way. It's radial. It flows only in one way. When you export distributed generation, there's the opportunity for energy to go which way? Dude, back the other way, right? That can cause a lot of integration problems with the utility. And we don't have time to get into that. They have the ability to produce fault current. If a tree limb hits the ground and there's a huge amount of current that goes into the ground, if the DG is online, it can actually contribute fault current as well. That's not good. And then, what happens when the utility grid goes down? Yep.
What's DG again? I'm sorry.
Distributed generation.
Okay.
Yeah, DR, distributed resource, DG, distributed generation. I kind of switched on you, sorry. But what happens if the utility grid is unavailable, or portions of it? The DG might be just fine, right? And keeping that distribution line energized. So the guy from the utility goes out there to work on a power line, he expects it to be dead, but doesn't realize that we got a generator out there that's keeping the system live, right? So it has a safety concern to it. And then high penetration. Talking about a lot of guys. Now, on my company, again, there's about 650,000 meters, I think, and we got almost 40 customers with solar panels and wind turbines. Now, that is nothing, right? But think about one distribution line in Tampa, Florida, in one neighborhood. Every house has got a solar panel on it, right? High penetration. Think big, lots of installations. That can be problematic. So studies have been done and said, look, the amount of electricity that's being consumed on this line, the maximum amount of distributed generation you can put on is 20% of that level, right? We got to get past that barrier, all right? How do we get past that barrier? Well, not sure yet. How to serve this load when the sun doesn't shine. Now, you've got a distribution feeder where half of it is supposed to come from sun, and there's no sun that day. Are you guys going to start using less electricity because your solar panels are not putting out power? No. Where's it going to come from? The utility, right? So he's got to be able to count on that. So weather becomes really important forecaster for the utility, right? Yep. Effects on the distribution system voltage. A generator's voltage has to be higher than the distribution line's voltage to make sure the current flows in the right direction, right? A bunch of those guys are going to do what to the voltage of the distribution line? Push it up. Push it up. All right, energy storage. This is the big deal. If we could get some energy storage, it would be fantastic, right? I could generate power at nighttime when it's cheap, and I could discharge it during the daytime as a starter, all right? Yeah, charge, that's what the first bullet is here. I could store that renewable-based energy, right? Maybe the wind is blowing at 2 o'clock in the morning. If I could store it and then discharge it in the day, that would be awesome, right? I could use that stored energy for backup power. I could respond to voltage fluctuations when the voltage goes down a little bit. It's like a UPS on your computer, right? Provide uninterruptible power. You think about that. If you're a credit card processing facility, how many transactions take place in a minute's time? Zillions, right? And you're down for half of an hour? Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Same thing with like a hospital, right? Ride through, momentary outages, and again, we could defer some utility infrastructure. I've really got to get moving here. Pumped hydro, compressed air, and flywheels are typically 3 types of energy storage. Really looking for this one, though, utility scale battery systems. That's what we really want. An electric vehicle.